Hi, my name is Lakuza, and I'll be talking about marketing and building an audience. So for this topic, let me throw this screen up here so I can see a bit clearer. So I'll be talking about building your brand as a world creator using social media, trailers, events, world launch marketing, and a couple of other things as well. But that being said, this can apply quite well for like other stuff, like if you're an avatar creator or if you're an artist. So hopefully there's a few useful things for everyone there. And because we're talking about trailers, I thought why not just make the About Me a trailer about myself. There we go.
I didn't realize Lakuza was that awesome.
That's it, that's the whole talk.
On to the first topic, which is, so I'll be talking about social media and how to build your audience. So there's many types of social media from Twitter, Discord, Reddit, TikTok, Instagram. There's way too much to cover. So for this talk, I'll just be focusing mainly on Twitter. And this talk is based on what's mainly worked for me. Things will work a little bit different for everyone. It's all about experimentation. But there'll be a few things that I think that'll cross over well for everyone. So as a world creator, why should you use Twitter? For one, it's a massive audience on there, so it's a bigger impact on your world launch. There's more eyes on your world. People will be aware of it before it even releases. And also, it allows people to follow you for world updates. So as you're making a project, because projects take a long time, it's nice to have people following your progress and anticipating the final release. And then also, it's easier for networking. Now, I'm not just talking about the VRC community, like the users that play VRChat, influencer streamers that are on VRChat. I'm talking about outside the VRC bubble as well. So this will be like festivals, journalists, people in the VR industry and the game industry. There's a lot of eyes on VRChat now, so we really need to start looking at the bigger picture of what's happening overall in the VR industry. So yeah, it's a great way to meet people that way too. So if you're starting Twitter, one of the goals, I think a lot of people assume that follow count equals success. And that's a common misconception. Mm-hmm. In reality, what you need to be aiming for is tweet engagement. So this is how often people react to your content. So comments, likes, retweets, how often it gets shared and spread out amongst the Twitter community. Follow count will naturally increase the higher your tweet engagement is. So that's just a natural byproduct of a high tweet engagement. So if you've got a high follower count with low engagement, that basically means that you've just got the wrong audience for your content. And this can happen for a number of reasons. One of the most common ones is just that you've changed your sort of main content. So for example, if you're a Twitter account that spent years posting pictures and videos of your pet dog or cat, you're naturally going to get animal lovers that are following you that like to see those sort of positive content of your dogs and cats, and then suddenly you switch over to world content and they're not going to really care about the world side because they're just there for the pet videos and content. So that's one of the main reasons. And then there's also using unrelated terms for attention. So this is more one great example of this is like not safe for work content, right? So you'll see a lot of people that will occasionally do like a not safe for work artwork of like the avatar or content. You're going to attract a lot of attention for that and a lot of followers because that's just the way the internet works. There's a lot of fans of not safe for work content, which is fine. But as a world creator, you're building an audience now of people who want not safe for work content. So you're kind of building an audience specifically for that, and they're not going to really care about your world content. And then the last one is probably just the worst one, where you're boosting your follower count with bots. I don't know why you'd want to do that, because you're just getting numbers on the follower count, but you're going to get zero engagement, because what is a bot going to say in your tweet? So yeah, those are some examples of how that can happen. So how do you shape your audience? Oops. So how and what you tweet shapes the audience you build. And this requires a bit of self-control. A good phrase I like for this is like, you are what you eat. So the kind of content you tweet is the kind of audience you're going to build. And I'm going to go over a few good and bad examples of how you can build your audience. So let's start with bad examples first. So negative tweets, complaining constantly, and rants. So these kind of group together. So if you're filling your Twitter profile with a lot of these kind of tweets, you're naturally going to lower the tweet engagement that happens with your tweets. You're going to sort of drive people away, because a lot of people are going on Twitter to focus on positive content, right? They're not waking up to like read, the whole time their timeline's filled with like a negative comments. So it can result in a few people unfollowing you as well. So I understand the urge to sometimes tweet about some things, and obviously there's cases where it's literally important to tweet. That's fine. It's about if you're constantly doing it. Don't confuse your world creator Twitter profile for like a Dear Diary type thing. Just make a separate account if you want to do that. So I've already covered kind of like not safe for work content, but you're basically creating a different audience that doesn't really care about the world side. You're also cutting off potential networking opportunities. So if you think about the whole outside the VRC bubble, there's going to be some important context that might not want to engage with you just because of that kind of content you have. So be very careful with the kind of content you do post. Now we're going to the more toxic side of building the right audience. So subtweeting, Twitter drama, mob hunts, even taking part in someone else's drama. This is going to negatively impact your audience greatly, because you're going to start attracting people who like this kind of content. So they'll be following you for the drama. They won't be caring about the world content. And you'll also be pushing away people who are following you for that world content. So they might be unhappy that you're getting involved with stuff, because like you wouldn't do this in sort of public setting in real life, so why are you doing it on social media? And then the next set of ones generally confuses me. It's rumor, misinformation, and negative attitude towards the very platform you are using for content. So you're kind of digging yourself a hole that you're not going to be able to get out of, and you're attracting the audience that love this kind of content, the kind of people that will believe a rumor because friend number 2 said it in like a random instance. So be very careful with the kind of things you share. Fact check first, and try not to destroy the own platform that you're using for your world content. So let's focus on what you need to do to build a correct audience. So focus on posting and sharing positive content. Have a focus on being informative, and keep consistent with the sort of updates you do on your worlds. So these kind of go hand in hand. So obviously there's your own content that you're posting, but also consider retweeting and sharing other world creators, because not only are you acting as a source of information now for people, you actually become a new source of what's trending in VRChat, but you're also helping strengthen the very platform that you're uploading your world to. So you ideally want loads of eyes on VRChat, right? So there's more potential audience for your world. So it's a big team effort, so just share everyone's work, boost what world creator community is all about. And this is a bit of a big ask, but really consider replying to every comment you receive on tweets. Now this can get super overwhelming if you get a tweet that blow up. Trust me, like I've been there, like a tweet's blown up and I wake up with like over 100 comments. I will take the entire day if it needs to reply to every one of them, because comments is like one of the main goals you're really looking for, right? It's a high tweet engagement. So if you're replying, even if it's just saying thank you, because they're doing a really great thing for like talking with you, so put a bit of effort back to say thank you, or put something relevant to what they're saying. It'll make them feel happy, it'll make you feel happy, so that's positive exchange, and it encourages higher engagement overall. They're more willing to comment on future tweets as well, because they know they won't be ignored. And this works great for people who aren't following you, because they'll be like, oh, okay, this person actually engages in conversation, let's give them a follow. So there's a lot of benefits to doing this, but it is time consuming, so I do understand if like it's not everyone's cup of tea. And this applies to any social media, whether you're on Reddit, whether you're on YouTube. Try to take some time out to really thank the people who are paying attention to you. Now we're going to optimizing tweets. So this is about learning and adapting based on your own tweet history and the performance of them. So the easiest way to do this is with Twitter Analytics, and this tracks your overall stats per month. So I've got a few screenshots on screen on the slide here, where it shows my sort of 2018 stats, 2019 stats as it gradually improves. And the tweet impressions value is really nice here, because this is like a really good representation of tweet engagement. So you kind of see like how many people are engaging with the tweet. So this is really nice to follow and kind of see how you're progressing. It helps you understand your audience, so you get to see what worked and what didn't. So if you have a month where the stats are slightly lower, that's fine. That'll happen a lot. You basically just analyze what was different between that month and the previous month, and this kind of feature in Twitter really helps with that. I find it easier to set monthly targets to help evaluate each month. So you can see in 2018 there, I almost hit 5,000 tweet impressions. So I might set the target at 4,000 because that's make it like an average, like a bar, and see if I can surpass that each month. And if I don't, then I have to analyze why that didn't happen. And gradually that will increase over time. So you see by this year that stat's kind of blown way out of control compared to 2018. So it's a slow progress. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you put that kind of effort in, it'll gradually increase. By default, this is turned off. So you need to enable this. So you enable it just by the menu. You go into the more section and you'll have analytics there. Unfortunately, it doesn't start the tracks retroactively. So I highly recommend everyone enable this after this talk, so that it starts tracking it from there on. And they do take a while to update, so it won't be instant. It can take a week or two to catch up. All right, so the next one is media. Including media equals higher tweet engagement. Someone is more likely to pause on your tweet while they're scrolling a timeline if there's something that breaks up the sort of monotony of wall of text. So have a screenshot, have videos directly uploaded into it, so they autoplays. And people are more likely to look at it. And this is why I'm saying avoid YouTube links for your major tweets, because YouTube just does not embed well at all. It requires one too many clicks for someone to actually watch the content. And as silly as that sounds, someone who's scrolling for Twitter isn't going to want to spend that extra second activating the video. If you want to include a YouTube video as a kind of a higher alternative, because Twitter compression does suck at times, and put that in the reply so they can click on it if they want to see the better quality. Next is picking the right time. So for your big news, you absolutely want to pick the perfect time and day to tweet it. If you're doing this big reveal for a world, don't just post it, whenever you're free. Use a schedule feature if you have to, and this depends on the audience you have. So, for example, my audience, I find it. So being in the UK, I always target my major tweets around the 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. mark. That's the activity peak for my audience there. And if I'm lucky and people start retweeting it, it will then hit other peaks in activity through the night. So the next peak for me would be 10 p.m. and then there's another one 2 a.m. So it's a whole combo of peaks if people keep retweeting it, and then it helps blow it up. So you kind of want to recognize those activity peaks, and the analytics helps a lot with that. Also, each tweet you make gives you one retweet and comment retweet to make. Use them, please. Don't be afraid or ashamed to use these. There's actual legitimate reasons to be able to retweet your own content. And one of the biggest ones is targeting other time zones and communities. So one of the reasons why you need to pick a good time is if you choose a time, a lot of people are going to be asleep or they might be away from Twitter, right? And this is going to translate to other time zones. So one of the things that I do, I just do retweets 6 hours later or 12 hours later, and that way I can target communities that are in completely different time zones. And one other great thing with comment retweets is that you can rewrite the original tweet in a different language. So I've got a large chunk of my audience in Japan. So I'll use retweet comments to kind of target the Japanese community using translation to make it easier to understand, and it works great. But also, don't be afraid to use a retweet exactly a day later. Sure, you're kind of aiming at the same audience again, but it gives it a second chance in case someone didn't see it on day one because they were busy or something. I've done that a few times, and it's helped make it blow up the second day, so do not underestimate that. In terms of a development update strategy for your worlds, this will depend on the type of world you're doing. Obviously, if you're doing a very story-heavy world that you don't want to spoil too much, you're kind of limited to what you can tweet. And if you're doing sort of a hangout world, you can kind of go all out with that and show a lot of updates. So it differs on that. But if you're starting out, try this strategy, which is what I started out in 2018. Commit to one tweet a week where you just show something you've made for the world. It can be simple. It could be a model. It could be a texture. It could be a system you've made in Udon. Just something to keep trickling out information, and people generally start paying attention, and you'll see the results over time. And include screenshots and videos with this as well. Even if you don't have anything relevant, it's a really complex system. Just have screenshots of the world instead, so it still breaks up the timeline. Someone will likely see it, and use the hashtag VRChat for any world content you do. And there are other hashtags as well, like Made with Unity or hashtag VR. Try to stick to two hashtags only, because if you go over 2, then the Twitter algorithm goes a bit weird and you're less likely to have your tweet appear on people's timelines. Next, we go on the world of trailers. So this is where you're building the hype, the kind of real mic drop moments for your marketing stage. So what's in the trailer? You're showing off the world itself, like a big reveal, or you're showing a very specific feature. It's usually like a compilation of clips as well, edited to some soundtrack. So it's not like a flat out like gameplay video. It's like really edited down and focusing on the main points. And it also announces the stage of development. So this can be the release date, the launch. Maybe it's like you want to say in development now or coming soon. So it usually has that so people know when to expect it. When should you make a trailer? Pretty much whenever you feel like it. When you've got something to show, that's fine for a trailer. But saying that, you need to make sure you're ready to commit to the project. So don't do a trailer if you can't guarantee the completion of it. A trailer is like a sort of ticking timer of like, it'll boost the hype up and the hype will slowly start going down and lower and lower. So you need to be in a position where you can start trickling out updates like, once a week or something. And it also avoids the wrong or impossible expectations. And for that, you need to understand your limits and don't overpromise things. I've seen a lot of people that get excited on that initial trailer they do when they haven't even started the project in Unity yet. And it's just for that sort of instant gratification of like, oh, people are paying attention to me, but then, oh crap, I've got nothing to show, like a week or two later, and then you've just lost all the hype that you generated. So I'm going to move on to like common mistakes that I see now in trailers for worlds and including like, the game industry itself as well. So the biggest one is music, and it's music choice and lack of sync. So I'm going to touch on the music choice very briefly because this is the smaller one. Music choice is subjective. I might like a soundtrack that you hate. You might like one that I hate. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about that it has to match the tone and speed of the visuals. Often I'll see music that's so disconnected from the visuals on the screen that it kind of makes it hard to watch the trailer. Like you're too concentrated on the disconnect. An example of that is like, say you're making a romantic hangout. Why would you put death metal over it? So that, this is an extreme example. And then what I really want to focus on is a lack of sync. So this is the one thing that I feel disconnects a lot of people when watching a trailer, and what separates a good trailer from a bad trailer. There's a massive disconnect if there's no sync at all with the music and visuals. So let's say a new instrument's introduced. That's a perfect time to reveal, but if the trailer makes no attempt to kind of synchronize with the music, it's going to be noticeable and it'll distract people. Next is wasted time. So this is a really big one actually. So the first 10 seconds, often you'll find no info in an attempt to make something emotional or epic. So often you'll be like a real close-up focus of an avatar's face, or they're trying to like, get ready to do something, or you've got like this really nice looking sunrise in the environment. And it takes up most of that 10 seconds. There's no information whether it's a VRChat World or who the creator is. And then more important, the first 30 seconds fails to have hooks or reveals, and it's just full of pointless shots again. I understand why people do this. It's like kind of, building the atmosphere in epic, but I guarantee you people are going to stop watching a trailer if the first 30 seconds do not hook you. This applies to like employment zone when you're giving portfolios to people. You want to be able to hook people in the first couple of seconds. Yes, that sunrise and player looks great, but not 15 seconds of my time great. So if your trailer fails to have key reveals in those first 30 seconds, you've got problems with the trailer. Next is people aspect of trailers. So a lot of times you'll get too much focus on people within a trailer. It tries too hard to make people look cool. And at that point, you need to ask yourself, are you promoting the world or are you promoting the people in the trailer? Another one is avatars clashing with the world. So as lovely as everyone's avatars are, when you've got like this really beautifully lit world with like nice shadows and that, and suddenly an unlit skimpy cat girl runs across the screen, you've just created the biggest disconnect. And you need to think of like people watching this from outside the VRChat community as well. They're gonna be so confused what's going on. Like if you got like this really, imagine like the Devouring, as a trailer, and then cat girls just run across the screen. It's going to create a weird disconnect, right? And then lastly, there's the awkward, boring body language. So everyone is well aware of the VR hands being in front because, we're resting on an armchair, comfy, but not great for a trailer. Or if someone's running, they'll have their arms really stiff against the side as they're running because we're using the control to move our hands. These all look really awkward in video format. And another one is when people attempt to run, so they're moving their hands, except that the left hand is in perfect sync with the left leg. You can try running like that. I guarantee you're not going to be able to run if you're moving your left hand and left leg forward. It's going to look really stupid, and it comes across like that in a lot of trailers as well. So you need to be really well aware of your body language. So now I'm going to go on to what you should be doing for trailers. Planning is a big part of trailers. Try to choose the music before working on a trailer. This is simply because when you start hearing the music, you're able to recognize key points in the music where, let's say a guitar comes in at 10 seconds in, let's say drums start kicking in about 30 seconds, and you now know that those are key moments to sync up with like visuals or like a key reveal. Or like, the beat drops, and there's loads of things you can do with that. And you need to plan for that so it doesn't disconnect the viewer if your visuals don't match. Decide on the tone and style of your trailer and keep it consistent. So if you're doing a horror world, don't just shove in like some sort of comedic element halfway through. Really focus on what kind of message you're trying to get across with the trailer. And this applies for the avatars that are featured in it as well. Make sure they're consistent with the world itself. Write out a clear set of goals that the trailer must hit. So this is pretty common sense. Your trailer's there to get a few key points across. So write down in bullet points so you never forget to add those in your trailer. So, it establishes a VRChat world, put your world creator name in there. Have the key features that you want to show off in there before you start recording the trailer. And then plan how to show the reveal instead of talking or relying on text. So the less language you have in your trailer, the more inviting it is to all of the VRChat communities. Don't forget, VRChat is like a worldwide community now, right? Not everyone speaks or reads English, so try to really minimize on how much language you have in the trailer itself. It's okay to have a few text labels to like bullet point certain gameplay features that you're showing. But don't rely on like massive amounts of text to explain something, and try not to talk at all, because not everyone's going to be able to follow. And you're cutting a massive chunk of the audience that might have been interested in the world. So yeah, trying to show it instead of talking. And the next one is time. So aim for 1 minute maximum for a trailer if you can, because Twitter will keep auto looping it. It prefers 1 minute videos. And then the maximum is 2 minutes and 20 seconds for Twitter, so you can't upload higher than that. But there's no reason why you should ever hit that maximum limit anyway, because we're not making 40 to 60 hour experiences yet. Sure, persistence is coming, so maybe it might change then. But for now, there's no reason to hit 2 minutes. 1 minute to 1 minute and a half is pretty reasonable, and you can get a lot of content in there. And if you're not, it's usually because you're repeating a lot of content. So less is more in this case. So if you've shown a feature off already, there's no need to show it off in the trailer again. So that helps you cut down time a bit. Make sure the first 10 seconds has some kind of information. So, maybe have the VRChat logo and say, coming on VRChat. Have your world creator name in those sort of first 10 seconds as well. So it establishes something of what to expect. You'll see a lot of movie trailers on YouTube. They will put like a really fast 10-second compilation of what to expect from the trailer. They'll spoil like the key moments that will be in there at the very start. That's purely to hook your interest so you don't click on related videos and go somewhere else. So apply that logic similar to here. You don't have to spoil your trailer, but have something that's kind of informational and active within those 10 seconds, sorry. And then the first 30 seconds, make this a complete rule. Have one key reveal in there. If you don't, start replanning your trailer, because I guarantee if there's no key reveals, you won't get as many people watching it. Scene duration. Each scene or shot should be 3 to 4 seconds maximum, because viewers will lose interest with long scenes. So by long scenes, I'm talking about something as small as 5 seconds. Like 5 seconds sounds small on paper, right? But in video format, that's a really long time. So anything 5 seconds or over, just cut that out of your trailer. Unless it's a really action-packed scene, there's a lot of dynamic stuff happening in it. Then that's fine. You can have like interesting one-shot takes there with it. But generally, you want to avoid 5 second shots. That being said, avoid split-second shots or like 1 second shots too, because short scenes can often just become a visual noise because the viewer has no chance to register what's happening on screen. Next, I want to say avoid the overuse of advanced camera techniques and use them sparingly for greater impact. There's a lot of great tools and gimmicks out like recording, but often people get a bit too distracted by these really cool toys and they spend the entire trailer using these techniques over and over again, to the point like the trailer becomes an advertisement for the camera technique itself. So you need to really focus on the core message of your trailer and not like what fancy technique you can get. And minimizing the amount of camera movement anyway makes it easier to register what's happening on screen. Avatar style carefully to match your world. So this is lighting and style. Make sure they don't clash with the actual theme of the world, so there's no immediate disconnect. And avoid players looking or moving like they're bored or if they're half asleep. They might actually be really excited to be the trailer, but if their body language is slow, that it's going to come off really odd. So if there's a combat scene, make sure they're really putting the effort, like, you know, strike the sword or pull the bow and arrow, or like, you know, do like some, you know, dance maneuver or something. And if you can't do this yourself, please get in touch with the roleplay community. They have been doing this for ages now, and they're pulling off like so much great performances. So get in touch. I'm sure they'll be happy to like help out. There's no excuse really when we've got VR tracking and full body tracking now to really get dynamic movement. So now I'll go over the process behind the trailer. So I'll start off first showing what I use to make trailers. So recording, aka production, I'm using just the VRChat default stream camera, nothing else. It's literally just that. I'm literally holding it in my hand and moving it like a real hand camera. That's about as advanced I get with my trailers. And I'm using OBS Studio to record into an MP4 file. I do have my like sort of settings in there if it helps anyone, if you want to copy that. And I have Unity Recorder, which is a pre-package available within Unity itself. So if I'm ever recording a trailer purely from the Unity editor, I'll just basically put it into the project. And you go into Package Manager and you toggle on Preview Packages, and it'll just be there as a free download. And it's very simple to use. So for editing, I just use After Effects for everything. Editing, and then I render it out in sort of uncompressed. It's an animation format within After Effects that I use, and it results in like a massive 8 GB file. Sometimes use Photoshop if I need like to like edit a logo for the world or something as a PNG file, but mostly it's usually After Effects. And then I use Handbrake to compress the render I did from After Effects into a very small, clean MP4 file, and to put onto it. And in often cases, I can put onto Discord as well because it's underneath the 50 megabyte limit, and it's free. I've been using this for years. So I'm an animator for a living, and I've been using this for a lot of like client projects, and it's great. I recommend everyone use this. Free alternatives are available, of course, like the ones I've listed, so you don't have to use After Effects, but I'll show you about what you're comfortable with. A lot of the stuff I'm doing is pretty basic transitions anyway. I'm going to focus on the 3 stages of production now: pre-production, production, and post-production. So pre-production, which is the planning stage, you really want to choose a soundtrack early so you can plan music sync scenes. You want to plan out key reveals, so make that list of stuff you want to show off, and make a storyboard if that helps you. I prefer to make a really rough video made up of like text with the soundtrack playing in the background, just so I can see how timing and sync works. That usually helps me realize exactly what I want. For production, whether I'm using a Steam camera or I'm using just a direct recording of my vision, for like point of view shots, I always make Steadicam mode is activated. And this is actually something that was recently put in VRChat, so you can have your regular desktop stream now just have Steadicam. So I highly recommend that because it gets rid of that awkward, shaky feel that a lot of VR has when you're recording. And if you are using your direct sort of point of view, and even with Steadicam mode on, you kind of want to be very aware of your head movement. Be very slow or like very like robotic with your head movements. Like, you know, if I'm going to do a pan, I'll make sure my head doesn't move too much. The reason why is that in VR, naturally, we have a lot of jerky head movement. And as they're recording, as the video is watching, they will feel motion sick with a sudden, like, you know, constant head movement. So try to really limit crazy head movement. So I recommend sticking to 30 frames per second for your recording, just because Twitter doesn't handle 60 frames per second videos, so you might as well just keep it 30. And for post-production, even though I said to have like a plan, be flexible, be ready to deviate a little bit. There'll be some things that only make sense in editing stage once you get all the recordings. You might find that one clip works better in certain different spots, so be to make little changes like that. And don't be afraid to speed up clips to improve like the music sync or the duration of a clip. You'll be surprised of how much you can get away with speeding it up without falling into like Looney Tunes territory. So yeah, experiment with that. And give text enough time to read. You'll be quite surprised about how much time you actually need to read text when there's a lot of action happening on screen. So test the video yourself, to your friends, and make sure everyone can read what's happening on screen. Now I'll be moving on to trailer breakdown. So this will be looking at 3 trailers that I've made before and kind of breaking down the process of each one. Now each trailer is a different style, a different goal, and it was in a very different position in the sort of marketing stage. So some were in a really ideal spot for a big trailer reveal, and then one was like in a really difficult spot. So the first one I'll analyze is Devouring. So this was in a brilliant position for a big trailer. It was a collab between 4 known world creators, so it was myself, Sign Laser, Legends, and Fiona. And we've already got like our own established audience, so just the fact that we were collaborating was a good enough reason for people to get excited for the world. And on top of that, built on the hype by just using environment screenshots, behind the scenes development screenshots, and like music pieces as a marketing strategy. But we never spoiled anything about the story. And not even the title logo was known until this trailer, so there was a lot of cool stuff to reveal, and we only ever showed one enemy for about 5 seconds, and it didn't even show it interacting with the player. It for everyone, that was it. So there was a lot to kind of show this trailer. So for goals, if I'm writing down a list, there's a lot of first-time reveals, gameplay, story, title, logo, release date. So they had to make a big impact because there's a lot being shown off. I really wanted to emphasize the horror genre, so it really had to, take control of the style and tone to reflect that. So I wanted it to be movie-like, intense, overwhelming. I really wanted to show viewers watching that you're going to have a very stressful experience when in the world. So I really had to just keep ratcheting up the intensity of it all. All right, so without further ado, here's the trailer. So good. So to break that down, the video was chosen before the trailer even began, and the entire trailer was actually driven by the track. There's some 3 significant changes within the music where I knew that I could shift the direction of the trailer. So I had like 3 arcs. So like the was the sort of gas station. It was just setting things up and establishing like the VR world, putting our names in there. And then the second arc is when it's showing the environment. And there's not much danger yet, but it's starting to get a bit more sinister. The story's trying to take a weird direction with like seemingly inviting sort of address to the guests. And then once the music really drops, that's when all the danger kicks in, and it's just way cuts, and yeah, you're gonna have a horrible experience. Then we have like the title. So the title was like a big thing. It's like it's the first time it's revealed, so you had to have like an animation and sort of splash on screen. The release date was another big reveal, so it had like an extended. And even though the end shot was like way over 5 seconds, the text itself was a focus as the release date, the world creator names, so it kind of works. And because there's nothing really in the trailer, it's fine to kind of extend that kind of long scene there. No player was shown besides like a pair of hands. I didn't use my old avatar. My old avatar had like a horrendously huge cartoony hands. I just picked a character from one of my who had like fingerless gloves, so I just used her character as the hand model, because it's kind of like realistic proportions. There was no light-hearted moment, so I had to re-emphasize the horror aspect. And then I used the stream camera for pretty much all of it. Mode on. There was nothing else like special done with that side of it. So the next trailer I'm going to break down is the second trailer I did for Bullet Time Agent. So this was actually in a really tough spot for a big trailer reveal, and it's a very old project. So the project began back in 2018, and then I had a first reveal trailer already that got back in 2019, and the demo of it has been playable since in VRChat. So it's not by any means a new project. It's been going on for a while. I've been doing a lot of development tweet updates on this, so it was very easy to do weekly updates with this, just because of the nature of the project. And I don't really consider it spoilers, so I'm showing stuff from like, the boss battles, and I'm showing stuff from like enemies, and I'm totally fine with that. So because of that, it puts it in the top spot because people know about it already, so there's not much to reveal. But it went on pause in 2020 to work on Devouring, so that helps just because now there's like a gap in content that I was using for Twitter. Now at the same time, I was working on a new avatar, so I was using an avatar from like my game, but it was time to change that because I was trying to get more involved in events and stuff. So I started working on my own avatar, which I'm wearing right now. And this was in a great position. So because I'm not an avatar creator, it's not the focus of my tweets. So I only did like 2 to 3 tweets at most because my audience is not really geared towards avatar stuff, it's geared towards worlds. I never showed the text avatar. I never showed the face besides like just teasing the eyes. So great position for a reveal. And to merge this and the reveal of the world as the main goal. And for the world, I really wanted to show off the progress from the 2019 because that's really outdated now. Just the visuals have been stepped up. There are way more enemy designs. The gameplay had improved, and I also wanted the style and tone to be like cool, badass, fun. So like just like the arcadey fun experience to play. But I wanted to be kind of like a cinematic. So this is going to be a little bit of a departure from my usual world trailers. So for the pre-production stage, the soundtrack is actually what spawned the entire concept of the trailer. So the idea of this trailer didn't exist until I heard the soundtrack, and it's actually a music from the world itself. I've got licensed for it, and there's a small 19-second portion where the music stops, and it's just a series of these amazing sound effects of like gun reloads, metal objects moving. The moment I heard it, I knew I had to love to do like a video to it. At the time, it was a bit daunting. I didn't know if I had in me to actually do something like this because just the amount of planning it would take and work was a bit scary. But I went ahead with it. And also, the trailer was going to be an in-engine trailer using Timeline. So I use this as an excuse to learn how to use Timeline, and I highly recommend using this making in-engine trailers because it's amazing. It lets you sync animators and music and test it directly when you're playing back in Unity. Because of all of this, I required what's called an Animatic. So an Animatic is basically an animated storyboard in the animation industry. It's a very rough format, so you kind of get an idea of where timing is. I did touch on this briefly, but sort of rough video with text and images. So I used that to kind of sync out every single clip that I was going to animate. Like timing to the music is really important. And here, pretty much the 19-second animatic that I had. So super basic stuff. It's just a bunch of like Google images that I just pulled in just to get the time right. But this gave me everything I needed to kind of like really plan out the clips I was going to animate. And this was the final product. Thank you.
Yeah, nice.
Okay, so that was actually the shortest trailer I've ever made for a world, but funny enough, it was the most time and effort spent making a trailer. This was a solid 2 weeks worth of work, of just like planning it, animating it in Unity. So fun fact that it was still the shortest trailer. As you notice though, it wasn't 19 seconds. It did actually become 37 seconds in the end, and that's because I added an extended intro to really focus on avatar. So I'm breaking the rules a little bit here by saying focusing too much on the video, but my is the avatar was a reveal in itself, and I did it within the first 10 seconds, so it still stays within the 30-second rule. And even then, in a 10-second sort of timer, I still put in like the VRChat World. I put my name in, and the actual bulk of the trailer started then. And as you saw, the rest of the trailer was pretty much done within the 30 seconds. So it took the checkboxes there. The plan ending changed a lot from the animatic. So the animatic would be a bit confusing because it was really just made for my eyes, so I knew exactly what each icon meant. But they were like a reverse icon near the end, and I was originally going to have the entire trailer rewind back to the start and then switch to the logo because a big part of the world is slowing down time to dodge bullets. So I was going to do some sort of time manipulation in the trailer, but in the end I decided to instead replicate the original art poster I had for the world that I've been using for a while, and I was really happy I did that because now I can use that as a poster for marketing now too. And now of course I used extra audio to sync the new opening and ending, so like viewers wouldn't know that wasn't originally planned, but the audio kind of just makes it feel automatic. And a good example of deviating from the original plan, so yeah, have that flexibility for sure. One thing I didn't account for though, that the animatic didn't account for either, is that the action you have on screen, more time is needed to understand. So a single second with too much moving on will feel too quick. And in context of this trailer, originally every kind of punch I did in that trailer robot, there was like camera shakes, camera movement, effects blowing on screen. And when I put it in the editing stage, I put it together, like even I couldn't keep up with what was happening because there's so much visual information on screen. I just didn't have chance to register. And this is even more apparent when you've got smaller scenes tied together. It's kind of really disorienting when you actually experience it. So the simple solution to this was just to simplify it. So I got recycle effects and I really minimized the amount of camera movements. So it was just focused on my avatar punching the robot and the robot's sort of initial reaction to it. And that was needed to kind of work. So whenever you're making your trailers, really keep in mind how much is happening on your screen if it's a short second. When it's a simple one, when it's a simple second, it feels like 2 seconds. If it's too much, it'll feel like a blink and it's over. So the next thing go on now analyzes a JSR Festival. This is the current project I'm working on. So this was in a good position for a big reveal. Fan project based on the series, so it was very easy to just build a hub using visuals and music because of the nostalgia that people have, and there's already a thriving community for it. But I didn't have any gameplay leaks, and there were no team leaks. So at the time, people assumed that it was a solo project. And roughly around the same time, the new team member Y had just tweeted about rail grinding. So luckily, not many people like connected the two dots because I very mysteriously revived this project around the same time. So it was in a good spot for a reveal, and this trailer was completely to hype up Y's involvement with the project and to show off his grinding system. But I also wanted to give a world overview and activities, just to kind of reveal that it's not a hangout world, there's like adventures and there's stuff to do in there. And the style and tone had to be fun, stylish, upbeat to really match the original series. But I also really wanted to channel the energy of like Smash Brothers character reveal trailers, because they always find a way to reveal new characters, and I really wanted to do that for Y to really hype him up. And here's the trailer.
Like this, like that, like this, like that, like this, like that, like this, like that.
Jet Set Radio! Jet Set Radio!
So to break this down, thank you. The major reveal was done in under 20 seconds, which was Y's involvement and his rail grinding mechanic. I deliberately kept the first 15 seconds void of any gameplay, so I really focused on the nostalgia aspects in there and have some like fun moments just to emphasize fun it could be, like, you know, just lip syncing to the music that was happening. And this all led to like a bigger impact of the main reveal. So there's a big focus on showing gameplay because this is the first time showing it, right? But then the focus on the world creators itself, because it was a large part of this was a focus on the people behind the world. And there was a heavier focus on motion graphics this time around, so I really put a lot of effort into how text is displaying and how the shapes and everything, and remaking the logo and animating the logo as well. So there was a lot of that involved because I really wanted to do justice to the game series. But yeah, all three trailers were a success, including Time Agent, which had a really tough position. I'm not sure if the numbers are visible there, but the tweet engagement for all of them were really great. A lot of days spent replying to comments, and this isn't even showing comment tweets that had their own high engagement as well. So looking at time, I'm actually doing really good for time here. This is the fastest I've ever done, I think, so I can slow down a bit here. So the next thing I want to go on about is influencers and collaborating on marketing. So by influencers, I'm talking about, you know, like what you would normally call content creators, like Twitch streamers, YouTubers, VTubers. I'm not referring to them as content creators here, because on VRChat, that term is kind of odd when pretty much everyone playing VR is a content creator in some kind, whether you're avatar creating, whether you're world creating. So I'm referring to them as influencers. But it also includes journalists and people with a lot of social media presence. So it allows for a wider range of definition here. And teaming up with influencers for events is like a two-way deal between you and the influencer. There's often like a common fear or misconception that it's a one-way benefit for the world only and that they're just clout chasing. That's really not the case. And if there's ever an influencer who thinks that, they're not the kind of influence you want to be teaming up with anyway. Many influencers are actually looking for special access or early previews of upcoming worlds. They're like, you know, the ones who enjoy looking at worlds, they're generally interested and excited to check worlds out. Finding the right influence is really important. Not all influencers are suitable for World Showcase, so make sure they at least enjoy exploring worlds and that their content focuses on paying attention to worlds. So you'll have some influencers who their content is not to do with worlds, but it's like say avatars, which is absolutely fine, but that's their content and the audience is built for that. So they probably won't really appreciate world exploration much, and the audience might not appreciate it as much. So you really want to hone in on the influencers that spend time actually world hopping and exploring worlds, but also that they respect the worlds they visit, so they understand the effort that creators are going in, and they're not coming up with really, you know, horrible toxic comments about a world if they don't like it. Like, constructive feedback is fine, but there's a difference between constructive and toxic, and you'll find some people engage with that. And that really indicates some type of audience to build, because the audience obviously likes them, so they'll agree with those kind of behavior. Equally, you want to pay attention to the content on social media, so apply the same rules I gave you early on for like building audience. See if they're involved in Twitter drama, mob hunts, you know, subtweeting. If they are, you probably don't want to really give them you know, early access to your worlds. Focus on the people who are actually positive and actually you know, put a positive influence on the platform itself. So this includes avoiding people who, you know, who will willingly spread misinformation or like be negative. Because like, what's the point? Their audience is not going to enjoy the world, so there's no point showing them, right? It doesn't matter if, you know, a streamer has 200k followers, if they have a habit of being toxic. So just keep that in mind. And one of the events you can collaborate with is world tours. And I do this a lot myself, so this helps you reach outside your audience. And a world tour is basically showing an influencer or even groups in the audience the work in progress world that you work on, and you're basically guiding them to key moments or locations. So I've been doing this a lot for the past like 3 years, and it's a lot of fun to do because you get to see their reactions sort of firsthand, and then you can pay attention to their stream and look at the chat as well. So that's why it's always important to choose the right influencer here. But what's really great with World is that not only it builds world awareness and hype, it builds awareness about you as a world creator. So in the world, this is still building a brand of you, where, you know, people when they hear your name, it'll be like a, you know, what's the word? It's like a proof or like a badge, you know, like, yeah, they'll be like, oh, this person's making that world, I'm already excited, I don't need to know that much already. So you kind of want that effect eventually. But it's also an event for audience to take part in too. So you can actually use this as reward for people who have been supporting you for so long, and people like follow you if they know that you do these kind of things. So they're genuinely interested in seeing your worlds out. So it helps build your audience that way too. So when should you do a tour? So I tend to stick to the goal of like, if your world can hold a tour for 30 minutes, then you're pretty much good. Because remember, you're also doing you're helping out the influencer as well. So you want to give them meaningful content. So if you have an adventure world that's over in 10 minutes, chances are that's not going to really help the influencer much as well. So you really want like a good 30-minute content. If you're doing a hangout, well, that's a little different because you can spend a lot of time just like seeing the rooms and appreciating it. Because hangouts are more focused on that sort of small location, so they work out pretty fun that way. Make sure what you show off is polished though. You know, a large amount of the audience for an influencer isn't going to be following world creation, so they won't appreciate why something is half finished or like buggy. You want to make, so I'm not saying it has to be finished, but just make sure it's polished. Because a lot of people will use your tour as a first impression, which is pretty scary. You need to make sure what you show is good. That's why tours, I often make sure they're guided, so I avoid the really unfinished stuff as well. And avoid getting too technical, otherwise you'll lose the audience. So we all love to do a lot of nerd talk, but just limit that in tours because you'll lose a lot of people that way. So now we're on the final boss stage, which is the world launch. So leading up to launch, you should be really focusing now on your marketing and how you're going to hype up the release. That being said, do not set your release date until after the world is complete. So what I mean by this is there's no development left to do, but fixed, and it's ready to publish right now, right this second. But what you want to do is set the release at least with a week spare for marketing, just pure marketing, no development. That way it really makes it a lot easier to hype up the release date. And also have your final reveal trailer ready in advance. So an example, I'm going to show you the timetable I drew up for Devouring. So we finished the Devouring development, I believe it was like 31st of July. And I drew up this 2-week timetable, which slots, it might be hard to see on here. Oh no, it's visible, that's great. So slots like timetable for me, Fiona, Cyan, Legends. I had a whole schedule planned and I sort of grayed out where only one person would tweet so there would be no overlap. It was the first time I kind of did this, but I'm so happy I did it because it worked so well. There were a lot of reviews that we had to do, so that's why it spread out over 2 weeks. And we really went all out with it, and it just did wonders. So I highly recommend having your own sort of tweet schedule once the world is complete and you give yourself like that week's benefit, just draw a pipe. And then consider doing a world launch party. So organize a launch event in the world itself. It rewards your audience. It gives them content to tweet about, it gives you content to tweet about, and it can also help you leave community labs pretty quickly if you're in the world while it goes public. So after the world launch party, you'll be in there for like the first hour, and then you'll have a countdown and put the world to public, and then those will hopefully contribute to it going public out of labs too. In some cases, you can't really do a launch party within the world itself. So the Devouring was a good example of this because it was only like a 4-player world, so that's not going to be much of a party and you're going to be stuck in a gas station. So Fiona spent like the week before release just making this grand like Oscars movie party like experience, and we had 8 people, and then it was just amazing. We had roughly around 300 people entering and exiting over the course of a few hours. We each gave a speech, we had to pull the to do the big reveal with the animation and the portal open to the side. I highly recommend doing it. It doesn't have to be like this crazy grand. Like when I released like the world, it was just a party within the world itself. But just it's fun. Your audience will really appreciate it because they get to be a part of something that you've built. So the actual final form is post-launch marketing. Yes, your marketing does not end at launch day. So you really want to encourage people to keep talking about your world after its release. A good way to do this is to assign a hashtag to your world. Tweets, so like if someone posts a screenshot, they'll include the hashtag. You might even just put your Twitter handles in so they can just tweet directly. But the benefit of this is that it helps you keep track of all the tweets being made of your world, and it helps others keep track of it as well if they're interested. Please make sure the hashtag isn't already busy. So just double check that the hashtag isn't being used by another game or community, and like an author of a book or something. Usually just sticking VR, VRC at the end of the world name should do the trick, but double check just to make sure that you really want the hashtag to be unique to you. And promote your socials and Discord server in the Discord server in the world as well, because it's nice to have something where people can then join, so they can discuss if they need help, or if they have like suggestions or like bug reports. It'll save your DMs a lot as well, so people can join the server directly. The thing I really want to stress though is placing photo opportunities in the world, especially when combined with hashtag. You'll just have a constant stream of tweets. I'm still getting tweets and screenshots sent to me from like worlds I released like 3 years ago, just because it's an end screenshot opportunity. So people really like to show that they complete the world. And I also do something like I sometimes do Hall of Fame. So consider that, but please automate it, so you won't get stressed out like I was during the Devouring release, because I was doing it manually and we had like 600 sessions in the first 48 hours, and I just wanted to like report somewhere. It was just, it was just insane. So please automate it. Do not underestimate how good your world will do. And adventure worlds in general benefit greatly. Include stats and playthroughs. Including stats and playthroughs, sorry, is great because people like compare and compete as well. And I guess if you're doing like sort of a hangout world, you don't really need a specific sort of screenshot opportunity. Just like a quick plug, or else is a camera thing, and camera prefab that's free within the toolkit. It's basically a dynamic photo opportunity. People will pick that camera up and start taking photos and posting on Twitter. And if you put like your world logo on, that's just free advertising. And people just love taking screenshots and shit, so please encourage that. And as an example, I've got like a small composition of images that wasn't even for a world. So if you're aware of Virtual Market, I did a brief for it back in December, and I snuck in a little collectathon in there and put in an end screenshot room that unlocked, that encouraged people to tweet about it, because I was curious to see how this would work, and I was super happy with the results. Like the amount of tweets I was getting for like a booth was amazing, and my tweet engagement was high for that month. I got a bunch of new followers, and it was just really nice to see. So screenshot opportunities means more tweets about your world, and more tweets means more ways to engage and build your audience, so it comes back full circle. And with that, the tutorial is complete and the real game is just beginning, so good luck. And we've potentially got 4 minutes or no minutes for questions. Thank you.
Oh yeah. My headset didn't die yet.
But yeah, this is a big talk, so do we have time for questions, or?
I mean, you can go. I'm re-uploading the world anyway, so.
Okay. Right.
There's no circle anymore.
Alright, who wants to ask some questions?
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Anyway, you mentioned that you plan specifically the time of the day you're going to post a trailer or a tweet specifically. Do you also, do you have a time, an idea of when you're going to post a trailer, depending on how your world completion is going? Because I assume you don't want to, like you said, the interest curve goes down over time, and so I'm wondering if there's a time you think is good to post.
So normally I'll only do the trailer when I've got enough to show off that I can then keep a steady flow of tweets. So I'll only do it when I'm ready that way. There are some cases where I'll reveal the world a bit earlier as a sort of community reward kind of thing. It really comes down to how comfortable you are with not delivering what you promise. So if you're confident enough, go ahead, it's fine. In terms of the time and day, I always stick to the same time. So like my tweets do really well if I do it like evening time in the UK, so I'll aim for that. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah.
Cool. I think Panda had a question.
Yeah. How are we supposed to find the time to do all of this? Yeah, we're not all when I'm working on my world, I'm often just sort of head down working on code for 6 or 8 hours, and it can take quite a long time to work on worlds. Obviously, like Bullet Time Agent's been since 2019, right? So a lot of these worlds,
2018,
yeah. A lot of these worlds take a long time to do, and they're often quite work intensive with only a small team of up to 4 people. So is there kind of like, how can we manage our time effectively for this, so we're not stuck doing a huge amount of marketing and not developing, we can't ship it, but also making sure the development time we're putting in results in engagement? Like, is there how do we judge that balance?
Yeah, I guess there's some time management involved, but honestly, I just enjoy doing it, so it ends up being a nice break between world creating. So I'll just find time and sort of do it enough. When it comes to like doing updates on Twitter, they're really not that time consuming. Like I'm not gonna spend more than half an hour doing like a tweet. Like if it's just a regular update with screenshots, that's like a 2-minute thing. So I find it easy enough to break from that. But I usually tend to really focus on a big update, like a video one, to the end of the weekend. So I'll always like have some time made that way. And it's something that you'll get in the habit of. So if you start off doing that kind of scheduled tweet per week, you'll build that balance yourself, and you'll start to understand how to get through that. But in terms of like trailers, right through in the community, like there's so many things that people are good at. If you can get help with the trailer, if you can't do one yourself, please do that. Some people that will, that do it for commissions as well. So there's a lot of opportunities that way too. Yeah, I hope that sort of, because it's not really a strong answer, I guess. It's just I don't really think about it too much. It's just it's a core part of my world development now. So it's not that I have to find time. It just happens. Like, yeah.
I think that's the key, right? It's like your world building isn't about building the world, it's about building the world, and your marketing, put it into your task list. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.